Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to discuss sleeping at Officer Candidate School. Now this is a question I've gotten asked a lot in the comments, specifically how much sleep do you get at OCS and how can you do things, what can you do in order to maximize your sleep so you're maximizing your performance while you're at OCS. So I'm gonna go over that. There are things you can do, there are things that I did, and I think if you do these things or you try to do these things and you do them well, you'll definitely get plenty of sleep at OCS. I can guarantee you that. First, what is the sleeping time at OCS? I've went over this in a previous video, but your sleep at OCS, your day, the times of the day are consistent 95% of the time. You're going to wake up at 05 in the morning, 5 a.m., and then you're going to go to sleep at 2100, 9 p.m. And those times, minus like maybe 1 or 2 minutes here or there, are strictly followed by the sergeant instructors at OCS. So 05 you're waking up, 2100 you'll be going to sleep. Right before you go to sleep, you're going to be doing personal hygiene. So you're going to be taking showers, shaving, brushing your teeth, doing all that, probably for the last 30 minutes of the day. And you're going to be doing a bunch of things. If you're in a billet, maybe you're doing things related to your billet. But the last hour to 30 minutes of the day, you're really just in your personal time. The sergeant instructors may have you doing some small things, but you're preparing in order to go to sleep. And then 5 minutes before you go to sleep, 10 or 5 minutes before you go to sleep, you're going to take accountability of your platoon. You're going to get in line. You're going to take accountability of personnel, gear, weapons, all that stuff. And then there's going to be a countdown by the fire watch. I usually start from like 30 seconds. They'll count all the way down to 0. And by the time you're at 0 seconds, you need to be in your rack, in a position of attention, laying in your rack, and then they're going to yell lights, 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 and the lights are going to turn off. And that's a typical evening right before you go to bed at OCS. So I'm going to go over the ways of how do you actually lose sleep at OCS. And there are many ways that you can lose sleep at OCS and not get your full 8 hours from 2100 to 05 the next morning. These are the main ones. Probably the biggest one is you have to pull fire watch. Fire watch is you have to have anywhere from 2 to 6 candidates, depending on your sergeant instructors, awake, walking around at all times of the night. And usually fire watch is a 1 hour shift and you change it throughout the time of the night. So there may be someone who gets the very first shift, which in my opinion is the best shift, if you're going to get it from 21 to 22, and then at 22, they're going to wake someone up and that's going to be the next shift. And then after that, 23, all the way up to 05. So you can see it can really suck if you have like a 2300 fire watch, because 1 or 2 hours later, you're going to have to be waking up in order to do fire watch. And so essentially you wasted like 3 hours of your night and you're only getting a few hours. So fire watch sucks. It's a very emotional thing. Another way is you're doing things for your personal self. You're studying for your exams. You are getting letters in the mail and you want to respond back to those letters. So you're writing letters to a family, which I always did. I wrote a letter every single day to my family and loved ones. And then also just other personal things. Maybe you want to, shave one more time. Maybe you didn't have time to do that. Maybe you want to brush your teeth. Maybe you just want to sit there and stretch, or you're just not tired, so you're sitting there and you can't go to sleep. So there are many reasons why you lose sleep. And then probably the biggest thing that takes away most of your sleep is preparing for the next day of instruction, whether that's making name tapes, which is the biggest one, packing your rucksack, making sure you field dressing your MREs, especially if you're about to go out to the field, or remaking your bed. And at OCS, there is a very specific way they want you to make your bed. You have to make it a very specific way. And my prior enlisted, y'all know what it is at boot camp. But I remember coming to OCS, me being just a civilian, never had any experience in the military. I was like, wait, I have to make my bed a particular way. Yes, and it has to look neat. And For someone who sucked, I was notorious at being the worst at making my rack, it can take a very long time. So those are all ways that these sergeant instructors can mess up your sleep. So for example, maybe 5 minutes you pissed them off, and maybe 5 minutes before your bed, they start ripping off your name tapes. And now you have no name tapes, and they're like, hey, by tomorrow morning, we're gonna check name tapes. Y'all better have them. Boom. Now you have to make all these name tapes before you wake up the next morning. Maybe right before you go to bed, they mess up your bed and they say, hey, you all have to make sure your beds are remade by tomorrow morning. You know, maybe they do a hurricane, which is where they run through the entire barracks and they mess everything up. They make, you know, they say, hey, everybody take your boots, throw them in the back of the room and come back here. And then they start counting down. And so you're just throwing shit, not knowing whose is who. And then at the night, in the middle of the night, when it's pitch black, because all the lights are off, you're trying to figure out, hey, where's my left boot? And, you know, it takes a long time, and that sucks. So there's a lot of ways that the sergeant instructors kind of encourage you to lose your sleep. Another big thing that will make you lose your sleep is having the right leadership chits. So if you get in trouble or you do something wrong, you will have to write an essay, and it has to be like, I forget how it is, but I remember it was very specific. Like it has to exactly be like 200 words, and it has to be like this, and you have to write it a certain way. It has to be all capital and blah. It was just a pain in the tail. So that's also another way that your captains especially, can make you lose sleep. So now I'm going to go into, how do you gain sleep? What are the things you can do to kind of rig the system and get sleep? This is what I did. Before I went there, I said this in many videos, I made a bunch of name tapes. I probably made 100 to 150 name tapes. And some people were saying, well, how did you make name tapes? How did you know what platoon you were in? The name tape, and I'll post a picture, the name tape is just a thin white piece of tape. You have to look it up, but I think it's like exactly 6 inches. And it's going to have your first name and then the letter of your company. Mine was a Delta company, and then the number of your platoon, Delta 4. Now, you're not going to know your platoon and your company until you get to OCS. You're going to know that the very first day. But you do know your last name, I hope. And so you can just make a bunch of name tapes like I did with just Hodge on it. Hodge, 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 Hodge. And that way, all I had to do was just add D4. And it takes a lot less time to write D4 than it does HODGE D4. And so that's what I did. And that gained me so much sleep at OCS. Like I said, I never, unless I had Firewatch, I never got less than 6 or 7 hours of sleep. And most nights I was getting 8 hours of sleep. So name tapes, definitely do that. Another thing, like I said, you have to make your bed. Don't actually sleep in your bed. They will give you a little a poncho liner. I use that as my blanket, and I just sat on top of my bed. So I made it all neat, or my rack mates helped me make it because I was notorious at being terrible. I would make it, and then I would just lay on top of it. And then in the morning, I would just kind of retuck it underneath, and it looked brand new, and I never had to make my bed. Definitely do that. That's going to save you sleep. Also, don't get caught doing stupid stuff. Don't get caught doing stupid stuff. You're going to do stupid stuff, but try not to get caught. There were many times that I did stupid stuff, like I've mentioned before with the Bobo Chow Hall story. I also, one time I was talking to my squad, and this dude behind me, he was like, Josh. And I thought it was another one of my squad members. So I was like, hey, what's up, bro? And I turned around, and it was actually a captain from a whole different company. And he was like, what's up, bro? And I was like, oh, shit, this candidate is sorry. And he was like, that's a freaking shit. And so, yeah, that was another way I did some stupid stuff. And then there were many other times that I got leadership shits. I think I got like 2 or 3 while I was there. So don't get caught doing that. And if you do, write it as quickly as possible. This United States Marine Corps officer candidate will save you when you need to reach that word count. And another way, here's a secret how you can gain sleep. Volunteer to be the scribe and create the Firewatch roster. And if you want to be a scab And some people won't disagree with this because the scribe is hard. Some scribes will, they won't take themselves off the Firewatch roster, but they will definitely give themselves an ideal Firewatch. So they will usually give themselves the 2100 to 22 or the 04 to 05. And I saw that a lot. And I'm not going to confirm or deny that I may have been one of those, but when I was seeing it happen, I was just like, hey, they're the scribe. Like, that's a hard job. They're doing all the writing. And so it was like, there's some benefits that come with being in positions of that. So depending on how your platoon gets along, which my platoon, we got along really well at OCS, you can do things like that. So I'd say that's another, maybe a immoral way to gain some sleep, but definitely a way to gain some sleep at OCS. Now, before I finish this video, I want to go over quickly what is sleep like in the field. I am not a good person to ask for this because I went through winter OCS. So it got dark around 1800, 6 p.m. every day. So we could do our night land nav or our night events at like 1800, and we could be back and be done by 2100. And so there ain't, in the field, there's no time. You don't wake up at 05 or go to sleep at 21. It's anything. You don't have a schedule in the field. And so we got in the field, we got like 10 hours, 9 to 10 hours of sleep. And there is a fire watch and a corporal of the guard and a bunch of other stuff that's added into the field. So some people can get really screwed with sleep in the field. I got lucky and I never had any of that. So I never had to do any of that. And I got plenty of sleep in the field. Now my summer dudes or the fall dudes, you may not have this experience. It may suck and you may not get any sleep in the field. That was not my experience. So I'm not a good person to ask, but just know for anybody going to OCS, when you're in the field, there is no schedule. You do not go to sleep at 21. It just depends when you get done with stuff. So you could go to sleep at 01 in the morning, and you could wake up at 04 in the morning. It's all depending on the training. So, and that's the same at OCS. So just know that and be ready for that, especially in the field. But you're only in the field at most at OCS for like 2 days. So it is not that big of a deal. That's it for this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope you gained some information. If you would, please like, comment, and if you want more videos like this, comment that. If you have other videos that you have in mind, this was a recommended video. I was not going to make this until somebody recommended it to me. Put it down in the comment section. Subscribe to me. It definitely helps. And you know, share this with somebody who's going to OCS, or, you know, I know a lot of y'all are going meeting with your OSOs and you're having you have other people, candidates who are trying to become, share it with them, share the channel with them. And if you have any questions, you can always comment down, and you see that I try to get to most of them. But I appreciate you watching this video. If y'all need anything, please reach out. Good luck to all of y'all. You know, keep working hard, keep staying motivated, keep being dedicated. And I hope you, each and every one of you, have a great day.